So you can see it's a little bit of a different setup, and it's not fully packed or unpacked as of yet. We've got a couple different rooms packed into one another here. I hope it's less echoey and maybe a little bit more fun. I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline in 2014. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I wrote this about it shortly after reading. What a treat this was to read. It's super light and super fun. I really enjoyed it. I totally get how some readers are turned off by the "look at me, I'm the 80s greatest fanboy" tone, but it didn't bother me in the least. I guess I expected it. The exposition of the grand game itself kind of informed that for me, and in general I like the tribute nature of things like this. It's not a landmark, and it's not super deep, but it is a quick, enjoyable read and will be a special guilty pleasure for trivia buffs. It is filled with Deus Ex Machina. The author actually sets the table for it, though, by creating a separate world where the main characters spend virtually all their time, including lots of large blocks that could normally seem inane. Cline uses these unstated background blocks of time to plant his relatively predictable, story-fulfilling secrets. I am a fan of the ultimate protagonist. I don't need some fatal flaw or unknown trap to provide extra drama. This is straightforward, easy fun. One interesting conundrum I kept thinking about was that because of its ease, I want to recommend it for younger readers. However, the 80s memorophilia will likely be lost on them. Guess it's just for us Gen Xers looking for a break from soul-wrenching intensity. I'm thankful for the recommendation. I love this book. I thought it was super fun and I plowed through it. Everything that I mentioned there in the review was totally accurate there. I will say there is a sequel to this book called Ready Player 2, and I tried to read that one aloud to my boys as they got a little bit older, and that one I really didn't like. We actually put it down and stopped reading it, so I can't recommend that one. Part of the reason why I didn't like that is what I mentioned here in this review, where I am a fan of the ultimate protagonist, where I don't necessarily need a fatal flaw or negative trap to provide drama. Here's a spoiler for Ready Player 2 in that our hero from Ready Player 1 has to deal with kind of becoming an anti-hero slash villain kind of thing. It reminded me of the Disney Pixar movie Cars, where Lightning McQueen spends the majority of the movie being a jerk to everyone and then has a turn at the end and everybody sort of likes him at the end. We didn't even get to that turn in Ready Player 2, but I dislike Cars for that reason too, in that I have trouble forgiving Lightning for all this negative stuff that he's doing. And so when Ready Player 2 is going down that way, I didn't like that as much. Ready Player 1 is fantastic though, and there is the movie out as well. The movie is different though, which I think is interesting when you consider its picking of 80s specific trivia. It chooses different set pieces, which I find really interesting. We did Ready Player One, the movie, as part of the movie podcast I'm a part of, which is called The Film Board by The Next Reel. I'll link that particular show in the notes here. One of the comments that we got, I never watched scary movies at all, and there was a big set piece in the movie that was from The Shining, and I had never seen The Shining, so much of that was lost on me. And one of the comments that we got was, how can you be a voice on a movie podcast if you haven't seen The Shining? So I have watched it since then. It is a very interesting and important movie. The point about this concept, about the Ready Player One concept as a platform, is that for people that were active in pop culture in the 80s, it is a really fun book and a really fun game to go through if you're interested in those kind of pop culture things. Really, it is a lot about video gaming and about 80s movies and about some TV shows. These are the kind of things that are coming up. Dungeons and Dragons, all these things that had taken off, that had kind of exploded in the 80s. This book and this platform going into the movie as well really sort of takes from those things and uses them for the scavenger hunt style game that is the major plot of this book and this movie. So if you like those things, if you're not turned off by the fan service that exists there, which I'm not, you will really like this book. One thing that I also should bring up is that I've talked a little bit on this series of books of how I really enjoy the mindbenders and the questioning of your reality and things like that, and that sometimes those stories can get a little too deep and you get a little bit too inward on it. One of the nice things about Ready Player One is while it is light-spirited and super fun. It allows you to kind of take those question your reality things in a way that is a lot more palatable and a lot more easy to get through. It creates a complete virtual reality game, makes people question identity and question reality in their pursuit of becoming good in life, good in the game, and good for the sake of the story. This is kind of a great sample taster for the mind benders that I like and that sometimes can get too intense. This is a good one for those kind of things. And I do think Ready Player One is good for a young crowd if they have the affection for those pop culture things of the 80s. One thing that's interesting is Ready Player Two jumps into a whole bunch of topics that are a little bit more adult in nature, especially in terms of interpersonal romantic relationships that are not present in Ready Player One. So that's something to think about with the two of those as well. I've shared Ready Player One with both my boys, now 12 and 14, and they've both really liked it, both the book and the movie. This was in 2014. I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Till next.